we'll just quickly bring in Karishma Asadani, who's joining us in the conversation here before we proceed with more details. Karishma, very good afternoon to you. We all have our eyes fixed on that meeting that is to briefly begin, the address from the Commerce Ministry. So far, the conversation has been on agriculture sector in terms of questions arising within the country, the agricultural sector, and how is it that the farmers' interests shall be protected. That's going to be one key point that the ministry will be addressing. Would you say so?
Well, this morning, the big question that I was also having on our morning telecast discussion was on the non-tariff lines that the joint statement speaks about, which gives access for US products to come in. Rightly pointed out by you that some of the agri products, while India's Commerce Minister has very carefully and very subtly listed specifically of the fact that sensitive sectors under the agri have been secured in the interest of our farmers and our domestic sector. But there is still some clarity that we need to understand that on the non-tariff lines, the agri imports that we are going to allow, what is going to be the quantum of that imports, and is there going to be a quota on it, or is it going to be a free flow? So a couple of percentage or numbers that I'm hoping this press conference will give clarity to. Second, I think the big thing that we need to look out is the concessions that we have got under Section 232. If we remember pharma, airplanes and certain auto parts, we were definitely excluded, but to also get an added benefit of concession brings us in a really sweet and soft spot. So second thing to watch out for. Third, and the most important, is that when could the full BTA be expected to come into being, and the timeline of that, because this is more of an interim agreement. It's more of a cushioning to the deadlock that was in place for quite a few months now. And what really happens with the whole Russian oil aspect, because the joint statement does talk about ifs and buts that need to be addressed. So important conference today where India's Commerce Minister as the first voice after Prime Minister Modi and President Trump who will share and speak details of.
Right, Karishma. Karishma, briefly asking you this. From the very joint statement that's been released, and since you've already spoken of some of the sweet spots there, if you could just take us through some of the wins for India, sector-wise speaking, from this very deal so far from the interim framework that comes out.
To say about the fact that the biggest benefit is for our MSME sector, for our exporters across textiles, footwear, apparels, gems and jewellery, leather sector, and marine exports, clearly. These sectors were in a very difficult spot a few months ago, since the first 25% and then the additional 25% tariff came in. Though whole and soul, if I give you an idea of numbers, as per the latest data from India's Trade Ministry, India was still exporting about, say, $6.65 billion of exports to the US, which is close to about a 7 that we had seen in December. So not a very steep fall that was seen in our export numbers, but still I think if we look at it from an absolute value, it does harm a lot of small exporters who were trying to find their strong footing with the US market. So big relief comes there, and especially if I talk from a macroeconomy point of view, then it makes us, it brings us as the first mover advantage in Asia Pacific when it comes to the global supply chain, because currently we are taxed less than what Vietnam is, what Indonesia is, and even what China is. So at least on textiles, you see, we are back to our majority.
Right, Karishma. There's also an executive order that had come out earlier that we had spoken about here here with Pranay earlier, which is with regards to the refund of duties, and that's going to be executed. That's in fact in execution since 10:30 this morning. If you could just take our viewers a little in depth through that, what does it exactly translate into? Just simplify it for us, please.
I wouldn't jump the gun in giving clarification on that, because we're also hoping to get that clarification from India's Trade Minister. Big confusion or big clarity needed on the fact if the duty refund is only going to be on the 25% additional penal tariffs that had come in, which is a more of a situational understanding, or is it going to be on the first reciprocal tariffs that have come in? Because you see the 18% cut from 25% is similar to what other countries have been also absorbing. So as per the percentage of tariff that they've been imposed on with. So probably that is definitely going to be kept out, and it's going to be the 25% tariff situationally based on if and how we deal with the import of oil from Russia. So that clarity is also going to be coming in from today's press conference.
Right, Karishma. Thank you for bringing us all those details on this particular interim framework that's been announced in the joint statement by both the countries. And all our eyes currently is fixed on that briefing that's to be done by the Commerce Ministry just shortly from now. That's what we're learning, and that's what Karishma also told us at this point of time.